to my earnest expectation and my hope that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with all boldness as always, so now also Christ shall be magnified in my body, whether it be by life or by death.
There's a riddle turned rap, peddled by some elegant fellow who spelled it in half. Pedal to the metal, always relevant, well in the back. But that ship sailed, so we pressing it forward and a pedal and back. Head in the sack, arms stretched, wreck no telling who smashed. Like, I could kick it up rap scheme. Tight with it so that most couldn't catch me. In fact, the act of stacking it wouldn't even seem that hard. Like a steam engine steady breathing, but already reaching worthless worry hurdles Hercules himself to an early grave. You project the same sentence day after day, straining to stay that steady flow, but thoughts that groan heavy on your aching skull. Every success begets another reset, another fight to find, and another night to hide. From failure to wail shriek against that freak that tempts your battered soul to leap from feats that your hands can so easily defeat. But freedom from that need seems to reap its reckless toll, and fatted calves your ass could own and have in action. You know your voice could move a mountain. Confidence, a reaction, a bastion from fear, the ear to swoon and bashful news, to laugh at fools who lack the tools to match your wit.
The fact that I have the deepest core of expectation, I won't be ashamed.
My mind bleeds lyrics as I try to clear interest and steer into directed effort, lifting my soul to the extra level. Press the devil pimples to leak their evil aura, drain the pus that seeps the sap and reeks like festered meat on my waking mind. I'm languishing in thoughts of future times while rat stress wrestle and gnaw my skin, ripping into supple flesh till there's nothing left. I'm a bubble at a nest of thorns, tested scorn, invested in the measure that I'm pressing for. My promise bright, my past a beacon shining deep into that inky night. I can see it calling, screaming, you can reach this tight grip, straining muscles, beating sweat streaks and drips, pushing forward, but I'm lost for now. Striking blindly, wildly swinging, clearing brambles that hug and stick. I'm stuck as shit, muddy boots sinking heavy deep in that ugly pit. A mess of weeds, stinking sweetly of discontent. I missed my exit, victim of my own misdirection. No myth to wrestle, this is my mission. I'm the king in mention. It's my court that's missing, my shortcomings that tore the banners, burned the cattle on ravished farmlands. I'm the tattletale that rattled unfair decisions, that barely altered my surroundings, clouded my vision and clouded my victories. I'm simply the method of ascension, bottled by a sense of fear, sheared for this envisioning masochistic rituals that riddle my interests with a singular victimhood. I think we're good?
Mind trying to kill these guys? Let's go into the trees. Let's go hide out and start picking these people off. You're like those guys. If you're praying for me, you're one of those guys. You're one of the guerrilla warfare fighters. You're the one that's off in the corner just picking them off one by one. You're keeping me alive.
Okay, so you got me right. The spot seems tight with a top team mic for a widescreen fight with Turner. Anger, I murder bangers with purpose and earnest. Baker with goodness to cook with the sternness. Chef in the easy. Believe me, the next 3 words delivered could limit my hand. A vision split from the schism envisioned by man. A messenger pigeon could visit this visage like a kid in Japan, lifting up bricks with the flick of his hand, hit with a stick by a kid in his band. This whole dumb luck angle works best when devs are free to be, so please believe in me as frequently as demons seem to be involved in all this dog shit. And I'll stand tall and call with all those you wanna frolic with. But when dawn calls and lawlessness falls to honest to God workers with wallets, shit, I'll be on my way to cash in my involvement as quick as I can. This the type of business get a man lifted by the seat of his pants, thrown to the sharks with a notice several weeks in advance. Will still clamber for even a chance. Walk past a homeless man, what if you pay him a glance? What kind of shaming is that? Like a worker to his business or murder with separate districts, the purpose of latest interest is at the mercy of man, desperately purchasing his worth from the clergyman's hand, still standing sturdy at the mercy of his worry and plans. No doubt, when the verse comes to mind, it's the words that averts all the hurt and the grind of the birth of a giant, my mind of the violence. And I tried to be quiet, but in time, the eye in the sky who decries all the finest of things would have cut down on the size of the purchase. Don't remind me of the worthless times that sigh when they're burning, just a beast on beats, fucking driven to compete with the kings of speech. I need to retrieve that crown, but you see that sea is teeming, a freakish sight of hungry motherfuckers sitting lean, gleaming eyes staring at that prize, a taste for blood. Hateful fucks just want to rape and plunder. Disgraceful, ugly thoughts on minds that rush like pigs to swill and slop the cop they're full. I'm awkward, so I stop to pull away, catch my breath and grind my pay. Time will prove my claim. the ticket, lifted, timid interest would live to give it riches. And I mean those words. Some dipshit spitted and gifted courage. The man who did this should be interred with dirty feelings. Heart burning like a lit cigarette. Twisting spindles of wafting smoke to poke my nose and start some shit. I'm parked at Port Asshole, full-fledged rapper though, with a cadence that rap on notes like skeleton bones, voices that only heaven would know. Whether you're open or desperate, I'd credit the act, spatted up indebted to the rest of the pack. Read it for the lesser ones, almost close enough to dunk, but always stepping one back. Once was a rebel song, short of a wedding bell, but that ship sailed in fewer distance, more than interest. So to get that life, picket fence with a pretty wife, I could live it, vivid, but indifferent to the diction, friction working to weld the gap. Spelt in caps, dropping the case, awkward, and I walked away. You stalked afraid until the time shrank or past its rate. Time ticking in my mind as if to say, you missed the boat, record skipped, you flipped and choked, and it's fucked up. But it's on me too, because when on me calls, I'm often gone for long weeks, sooner seen on stream than on steam. So who am I to talk tall about strong things? Boss and calm when I'm case 3. Praise be to the base beast, restrained to the ways, draining me day to day. But the frame is driven to break in the cage, never the same with the first attack. Coming to brave with the flavor and tack, a brave with the axe. I'll be the greatest and weighted, swayed the base, the favor, flagrant, the favorite, the friggin', debated, the limited weight of the comes of a change. I'll be in topic out of the phase, but honestly talking to bodies, could always a positive following, probably brought to the audible audience, hollering, noise and offering, multiple lottery, postable, loadable, clobbering, knowing that no one is humbling for the opposite, the change. Not that I'm a sage, but the same fact remains that all those who break away are forced to claim a pace and space and pace, endless and empty place. So it's safe to say that even the best of times usually falter before you find a reason to rest and get behind it. When you separate, it's best you find a section to reparate. The best restrains the bombs away with a crazy plays, cause I'll be waiting. Perfect with impermanence, purge it with different versions. Should have urged into a resurgence of workers who wouldn't scourge with it. Rap like an avalanche, rattles I smash a mountain past, dismantle every channel with vowels to crack the octave jack. Mind and metal, I pedal harder, lament a martyr for the desperate farmers who sell their prized possession to reap a harvest. To the freak who harness her deep and darkest feeling to feel the part of the regal art. A speech with leaf and part is a beast of burden. I'm proven hurting, believe the urge to leave deserted and fields to anneal. Real dirt to leave earth and bring birth to our forms. I'm Mike born, the ninth form of matter, a creature better than either adder or evil satyr, meaner than mouth breathers and 80 slashers, afraid the latter was leaned on crazy laughter for making actors seem like dangerous masters of late. I'm after a grave, but rather the way. I'm back in the place, packaging brains with hazardous ways, practically making Lazarus sane with disastrous haze. You have to explain it like a train of thought, that bone apart. I hold his heart in close regard, and though it's hard I know in part the closing arc will show the mark of a story in charge of recording my life in a boring regard. Hey yo, desperate nations, to the basic, then I phrased it. Made it take several days to decipher. Not required, a multiplier divided by any form of power at any hour. I said it louder than any coward screaming the name Jesus in the heat of the moment. No one knowing the onus, proponents of opening fire. Denied any form of discussion. You freaking or bugging for thinking we're fussing over the frequency of anything deeper than fucking. Rap populations, they're fat and obfuscating the act of confiscating any flagship operation. We bought our nation with black ops and honest makings. I promise we bombed them out of our business with citizens. Listen kitty, we did it to ready the middlemen. No peasants will be unsettled by our meddling. Got it, the lettering, act murderous, ats and Cerberus. Rap further with snap tracks and herbalists.
My rhyme symphony, strike fearing on my enemies, deflecting negative energy and navigating carefully, steadily in rhythm like a well-trained musician. I assert my ill position as the best in the business. My competition is brittle, break them down like a schism. Lyrics nimble and vivid, resemble riddles and wisdom. Title grand like piano, battling foes like I'm Rambo. Got the bars that make Fantano, put on your yellow flannel. Yo, I keep the stamina, don't stutter like an amateur. I will the rap Excalibur, won't fall to any challenger. You rappers couldn't handle bars like cyclists with wheels and tar. I was sent to raise the bar, keep my lyrics pure and raw. Flow is lethal and fluid, one of the best to do it. Don't need no approval, I treat these vests like they pupils. The way I flip words absurd, IQ sharp like a nerd. Man, I'm flying high, I'm blowing up like Raps Hindenburg. You can concern. Better learn how to deal with the burns. I keep my foes in their urns and then proceed to go and earn. A worm in the dirt, grinding and showing my worth. Soon I'll be known around the earth for going berserk in a burst. So get it drilled in your brain. Wesley, Rocco insane. I'm the next upcoming legend, steady building my name. Me and KiDcarus ridiculous, feeling like we limitless. Poems will be infamous for being dope and villainous. Yeah.
Let's try to get one take voice. Let's go. Yeah. Listening to instrumentals got me ripping through pages of rhythm that's basic ingrained in the brain in the same way as winning for native got me complacent. Only way to reclaim the grace of a titan is brace for the fighter. Talking fundamentals, bet your pence on the bottom dollar. Bet the current track and scholar will bash you proper. No lack of binder, a stack of monster can stop my conquer. Believe me, see the message of squalor leads to frequent flashes of slaughter, but bleaker options. You really oughta pay attention to the cost of life. You bought your strife while picking options with twisted optics, missing cautions, your gifted losses. Depending on the author, $1,000,000 in the trend. To your followers the same, and yet you called it all the same. The great unknowable motive to be a quotable, smoking every homer to own it to be promotable. It's only hoping though, nightmarish, the tight garish, the light glaring. It's a mighty fine for the tight perish. You might scare it, but it's not enough to never cover up. So buckle down and knuckle up. It's nothing much, you fucker suck. So get with it, you dim-witted little kiddies who couldn't diss me with 3 years prep, digging through the real nitty-gritty. You witty-bitty, you run the city with plenty missing whole crowd like Jiminy Cricket. Is that how she did it? The mammoth with rhythm, crashing the system with master precision. I'm practically mythic compared to those who actually did it. You have to admit it's rather convincing the way I get in. Slide of the track with additions that rendered the scene. Pen it with schemes, you bet that I bleed for the craft. Feeling freedom and rap, something you heathens may lack. Unbelievably lacks the way I breathe in the track. Who could have noticed I'm open, nobles and focused. I'm posing, I'm broken, and all that proceeds is either frozen or smoking. And you think that I'm joking, but I'll leave you heartbroken. I ponder a second before I honor my veterans. Leave $1 in penance before I drop their amendment. Either offer your sentiments or follow the testaments. Whole globe in a frenzy over certain discoveries from the combing of the Red Sea. Science in revolters, fighting the controlled and the violence in the null, and the titan of the oldest name, dying from the open flames. The medical community triumphed the very heart of the cry, every hopeful claim, unspoken. From the streets of Hoboken alone. Great and loathsome cur, whose lashed, writhing tongue lolls wagging, dogged, beating heavy, slapping flesh, carving threats of air to rip in twain the silence, softened, whispered, ever kind and meek, and wrench from sundered cities far beneath the mountains' peaks. The lines that wrap our duties forth and crash upon the tepid streets anew. Earnest posture wrenching earthing graves, purpling nocturnes deep with purpose, fat with levered tinctures, features turbid grace. Stay for worry, sacred hurries pace, crashing, burning, acrid journeys, packed with churning wastes, set lap and scurry, racked for turning back at fury's face. Changed. Check it out. Slap the cat and back the crack 'em seas. A fact they pad the track with crap they pay to see. Afraid of me, it's plain to see. I slay these things, so basically I'm saying fucking afraid of me. Bitches, I'm a kid, whether interested in that. But it's difficult to spread that while they're distant on a song. Dumb motherfucker, better run for the funds to be done. To be fun for the crumbs. On my fun shit, I'll be run this. Don't act comfortable, cut the bull. I'm a matador, but at it more times than you acted for real. I'll be in it, spilling and discriminate blood on the line of scrimmage comes full force. A racehorse hit a heartbeat through the floorboards. More important, I'm the foreman of the shore shit. Score the form, call me Hans, I'm a Yiddish chop liver with a pop cookie. What pop got him no shock when you wall falter. Yeah, my flow is possibly amazing. Talking can honestly, I'm probably the greatest. Let me just say this first.
Check it out.
Hit it with some bars like an inner city marred by the bitter gritty charm of the liquor hippie charms. We farm the heart that starts the show. When the park distorts the art, the chart is slow. But we mark this arbitrage, the mark the thwart the throne. Cause I'm back in the place, so the track gotta break. The last known game with a lack of restraint. Practically smashing the backs of the grades with destiny rap. I'm half of the brain, last in the game. Laughing at cats with the avarice games. I'm hazardous, Lazarus rising the name. The type to go tight and the light and the same.
I'm the only motherfucker keeping my brain turning. The same sterling standard whirling, my pain lurking, keeping me short-handed and staff. I strain to turn torn canvas to art, to master my part, feeling the state and disaster I start. I'm after the sharks, smacking at parts to clatter and spark, rather than carve my name in cattle and farm and turn her scratching lyrics in the battle for tarts. The fact of the matter is, I'd rather get started scraping paper off the top of the cart, put my brain in the park, instead of shopping like a waste of the stars, but my taste steady outpacing the talent in part. A man's time to mount to a lance through the heart, soul crushing, rolls rushing to plug up the holes in my marks. I'm embarrassed by them, sharing moments rarely spoken. I'm tearing lichen, exposed to permafrost to come across as genuine and raw. My fetid sentence keeps me left of center. Spend the winter months collecting extra temper, building moods to vex the renters. Test adventure to rend the shrewdness, pen this rudeness to end the crudeness. I do this for the refined eye, delighted by rhymes that line and end like birds on wire stretched by phone totems. I broker poems to close the holes in my soul's visage. This whole show's mythic. Tomes unfold in wordy epics turn to worry to perfect relics of my lifestyle and strife. I write while I find meaning in the night, screaming echoed epics of times reeling past. You'll find mind creaming fast into open-ended, spoken from a foaming pen, chatted hot from steaming nibs, a sequence found sinking in the even print, and even then the evening lends to decent wends and an even end.
You made me soft and mushy. It was awesome, you saw right through me. And I felt like alright, soothing, but I left that early, despite this buzzing, churning stomach from a thought of us. I separated, left the station, destined brazen to wreck the stages of education with excess station to renovate the decrepit basement my life has lain in for several ages. And to move out, and get a haircut. Start to shave more often, but unfortunately the score's been dropping, so more soft than it would have been. So what is there to do but to move onward, cruise, amuse the movement, find a muse and infuse your life to your craft. Start fighting them back, no inviting them back, because despite the fact that neither has a knife in your back, you might find that there is no right path. The times where you laugh are more often the primes that you track. No limelight when you're up in the night trying to craft a rhyme that could finally crack the shell that's been tying you back. But it's you that you've been fighting, your own mood, your own ego. There's no titan who's been dying to try to fight you for laughs. So any Midas you might find is a triumph of rap, or a timer lined up for the might of the crash, vibrant, the size of the violence is priapus designed for the flight of the rash. And I don't know if either has a child in mind for the cash. It's undeniable the right of the past is tied up in societal masks. Look, the act is sizable. I don't pride myself in the fact that I based my decision off of the frames of his gifted affection. This gave me the privilege to take as a given that any day-to-day interaction could have limited my satisfaction. Rather than asking, I made a dash for the back and took action. I don't believe I made a mistake, but lately I've been waiting for the grain that I traded the change. So basically what I've been straining to say is sorry for leading you on when I was too faceless to say. It's time for a change. It's often spoke softly as wafts and smoking fog that clogged the throat. Despondent, stalled in the autumn snow. The weather's changed, dependent on the climate for the better or worse. Whether the case tethers your brain to a private pace, the change will make for a taste of grace, or hellish rain, chain the likes of tapes in her TV's case. But for now, we're sitting, speaking, reading, leaning leisurely on each other for some sense of comfort. Though unready, unsure, we will remain. A windy Sunday with a storm to form from the east, begging to creep softly as music seeps from my headphones. The soft tick of a metronome clicks as pithy lyrics slip from lips and wisp of letters drip from the tips of teeth and tongue, built from dreams of things undone. Soft lids lilt as cars slide in slush on the aging dust. A thought deep from the spots in mine, steep with the lush rush of an engine whine, music rich with the hissing crack of a radio static stabs from the back. The cool, smooth touch of a seatbelt strap pressed on face. The rumble of the road groans brave, unchanged. Awake again, to brace from endless days of strange and unforeseen forces. But that's for future fights. For now, the tunes will play, classics of jazz that ramble from hands as tales of love and life dance across the keys, spilling into the evening air, frigid windows livid from the whipping of icy wind, fog from the heater's warmth, the soft fabric of a blanket wrapped taut to trap that in, resting heavy on sleeping bodies. It's performative, this sore, shore-footed torture that's formed by moods. A score to prove that ignoring forces is a chore to do. That the worst of ordeals are but chores on the lakes of truth. A basic rule. All flakes were shaved from the same taste and root. All changes break from a place of stranger days and news. So it's aching. When greatness fails to make it, when aching hearts won't face it, faith will stave the angst and save us all from the wastes that cave the ancients. A blanket, a sacred statement. It wasn't wasted on the taste of latent fragrance. Instead, the days we claim as saved were made to praise the basic. Away with words as I lay in bed. The pace of death seems to creep away, while days will play and stay in heads alight with prize and action. A fine life to fry in vats of crying acid. The price of laughing at giants is violently crashing. Vibrant lashings that tie the sky with lines of titan ashes. Spite a knife to split the vines and drop your bastion. Falling, smashing, stalwart mashing of teeth that claw like awesome, wrathful, dogged factions. I'm here to give it my all, or to fall in time with my pride or brighter passions. It was first spoken from a perch, a term discerned by those with courage, words with weight and meaning that said you reeling acceptance of feeling that for those with steely nerves. But what really hurts is if they stuck with you, like a pin, destiny and being sticking to your skin, a perfect fit. A match for your half left concealed, while emotions left buried, leapt from the tongues of strangers, shocked by the sudden rays of light like a knife to throat. You've always thought these thoughts an awful lot, ingrained away with the same frame of mind to push afraid. Well, twice before in the past they've come to crash and roost, but fear is great, and the delay to run to shade is the only way to remain unfazed, unburned, unscathed, consumed, not you. The strength of claims enough to break your brain under the weight and strain, afraid to allay these mighty terms, struck with an almighty curse to deny your worth or happiness. It feels like half of this life is out of reach, denied of the right of peace by a sign of birth. Biology spurred forth to try to force you to resign to a life and work, just to find your hurt. But he didn't search. In fact, you ran, and as the span of time it cleared the field that clawed advancing, that it found you all the same. A surprise attack, your mind is racked, so bit by bit it filled the niche and scratched the itch. Acceptance is a lethal weapon. Deceit it seemed out to keep you from second guessing, but it felt so real, so right. The light from night spinning, research peeling to the sources of force of might that contorts you from what you're sure to find is your course in life. Sitting open-headed, drafty addict from the ghost relented, I'd rather languish. In fact, the statement attains the angle I've made the tack. That's my own experience. How hard is it to pick the fruit from lemon, go to market? Apple pale upturned, caked in mud, the air was fat from the singing of birds and the blooming of flesh. The sun is soon to set, a single fruit bruised from too much pressure marks a spoiled bunch. I'm losing my lunch. A young tree, plentiful of weight, heavy with gifts to bear, sits atop its plot of rotting flesh, set apart from the orchard by a wayward seed, made to watch their kin display their glee as children run amongst their leaves, pluck their labor and let them breathe. Except not me. Because despite the interest, despite the effort, despite the effervescent desire to leap from my skin and wholeheartedly rush headlong into that new beginning, I stand firm, tall, and stoic in my anguish, an oak, hopelessly barren, spoken too rarely, but by choice. Any voice may disrupt that groaning of growing, that knowing and hoping, that knowledge and probing deep into the facets of my mind. A vain attempt to find that source, explain, gain permission to suffering, to join that world and to leave my plot. Do I need these thoughts? Monarch of the tight rhythm, cocooned at the tune so rare that you might miss him. My vision, vibrant for the night air, spoken from a mouth foaming with the weed resin, still seem pleasant. Distant dreams split the seams, spilled the written verses that read present. Unseen seconds tick away the stress. Vested rest allow free breath and you sink tepid. Swaying trees, touched from the rushing stream, open nothing endless in that destined scene. Ageless infinity of space plays the whims that accept you in. Chosen, softly spoken, poems rolled open off of lonely tongues. The planets slowly spun, drop totems of the constant demonstrate the opposite. On top of this, all of this inexorable ballet. Those who stray remain in the way, forced to play unafraid in the space and restrained by the force it names. Those ostensibly unaware, free to bring their hair, walk to work just to work or talk. This sort of score perform reports that shore the weakest of the form of strength. As long as we shave our napes, walk straight, gawk at the strange and drop our own taste. These statements bring change in such a way that seems basic, but please hang with the idea that strangers aren't just a scapegoat. Take note, each life is defined by a pair of eyes that read prose. Chippers life and think, though, we're prone to believe NPCs are the reason we can't reach peace. The fact of truth is closer that we're all lost, confused, rocked with stress, often pressed. The best to do is honest listening, not posit listlessly, but to talk honestly, willingly, intimately.